Hey everyone, it's Dr. Scott. Sorry about missing class on Thursday, but I did want to put together a video to kind of talk about the trends that I noticed in the Essay 2 drafts. You'll get your peer review feedback in class on Tuesday. But between now and then, here's some feedback on kind of how the class did as a whole. So this is the assignment rubric, the things that I'm looking for in the second essay. So descriptive detail is probably the most important thing that I'm looking for. Quality of sources. Integrating paraphrases and quotes, organization and transitions, and then there's other criteria down here, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. So I want to cover these in a little bit of detail, and I'm going to take you all to drafts and show you where I'm seeing some of these issues. And so you're going to see other folks' essays in here, and I hope nobody feels called out or anything like that. I think everybody has room for improvement on all of these criteria. So I'm not trying to single anybody out, but I just think that there's some good examples that we can kind of learn from. So the first one's descriptive detail, and let me find you a couple essays that have this issue. So I think this is a part of a student's essay where there's an interesting claim that's being made, but then there's not much detail kind of supporting that claim. So mural utilizes bold brushstrokes and dynamic lines, creating a sense of movement that captures the spirit of performance. That's kind of interesting. Vivid colors, I think, name the colors. And I think here what would really help the writer out is to provide an example. So I know that we're talking about this specific mural, but choose one of the artists where this is particularly relevant, or where this was particularly prominent, and talk a little bit about and kind of get in there and actually describe in a fair bit of detail what's going on here and how this vivid color reflects the energy associated with artistic expression. So interesting interpretation, but not a lot of fact to kind of support that interpretation. So that's one place where I thought detail was an issue. This is another student's essay where I thought description could be improved. And so this is an opening paragraph, and this making sure that you're using strong descriptive detail that shows us and doesn't just tell us something. You don't have to do that in every part of the essay, but when you have an opportunity to do that, you should take advantage of it because it is the first thing that I'm looking for. So, a sentence like this tells me something, shows that the Alexandria mural shows the vast, beautiful landscape, blah, blah, blah. But there's not really much description of that, like the vastness that's kind of alluded to here, describe that. So it's going to take kind of getting in there and actually describing what you're seeing and relaying it to somebody. Maybe they can't necessarily see it. That's sometimes a helpful way to think about describing. So this is a place where I thought writer could improve on the use of description. Something else I'm looking very closely at is your use of quotes and paraphrases and your ability to integrate them into your writing. So the next few things I'm going to talk about are related to that. So this is a student's essay where we have, some, students got their own, topic sentence. They're trying to, kind of set up what the paragraph is about. The mural features a grand riverboat, completing the billowing smoke and bustling decks, surrounded by scenes of commerce and leisure along the riverbank. And then we go into art historian says this. That's not enough of a connection between what's here and what's in the quote to kind of help me explain how to read that. Because here's what this does. It asks me to read it twice. It's asking me to read it once to understand what the paragraph is about, and it's asking me to read it twice to understand how the paragraph or what came before the quote relates to the quote. So you're asking the reader to kind of do a lot of mental labor that you should be doing. And this is one of the things that kind of keeps people from engaging with writing very much, because it's going to take a lot of effort, or more effort than it should, to figure out what's going on here. So what I've done here is I've added a little bit more context to that sentence so it makes more sense, like why we're going from one idea to the other. So instead of just saying art historian, he noted this, and then we have the quote, we have the previous sentence, and then we have art historian Stephen R. Kinney commented on how the mural conveys the historical importance of riverboats when he wrote, and then we have the quote. So a lot more work needed to kind of set up. And this is something that I saw in almost everybody's essay. We would have this quick sentence or two to establish what the paragraph is about, which is fine, but not much kind of setup to the quote as we go into it. So you might say that it's a historian, which is great. I think it's good to talk about the credibility of the sources that you're looking at, but there needs to be more glue between the rest of the paragraph and that quote or paraphrase that's coming up. There's several of you that didn't really talk about the credibility of your sources, and so I think that's something that you'll want to do. So, here we have a couple paraphrases, and I think, we have Vollmer, and I don't know who that is. I don't know who Reller is. So there might, include some information about who you're using for your paraphrase. Sell us a little bit on their credibility. And it's a very small thing, but like when you have in-text citations like this, the period comes on the outside of that's not nearly as important as kind of selling us a little bit on the credibility of your sources. This is something that I saw in a good number of essays for this assignment. In a handful of instances, not everybody, but enough that it's kind of a trend. We have Stedman's annoyances, like how you use sources. Beginning and ending a paragraph with a quote or a paraphrase is definitely one of those annoyances. I think it's the Dating Spider-Man or something like that. And here we have a writer that's ended with a quote or paraphrase, and there needs to be some discussion that goes after that. I also think the previous essay that we just took a look at, and I'll bring it up here in a second, I think there needs to be more discussion about the paraphrase before moving on to the next thing. So let me show you that here. I'll bring that back up again. So we have some cited paraphrases, which is good. I think maybe commenting on the information could be helpful. If you've found this overall theme between the murals and you've done a little bit of research, I think commenting on on that theme and how it applies. This essay is about tragedy, so talking a little bit more about the sources and how they are, what they have to contribute to this theme of tragedy, I think could be helpful here. So, if you got a quote or paraphrase, talk about it a little bit afterwards before you move on to the next thing. This is something I saw with several essays, so it's not like it's just this one essay. It's something several folks could work on. I think it's helpful to have some kind of reason why we're going from one idea to another. And so one of the other things I'm looking for in this assignment is organization and transitions, and having some kind of reason why we're starting with one idea and then why we're moving to another and using some transitions, whether it's a transition phrase, a word, sometimes even a sentence or two to explain how ideas are connected. That is something I think everybody could improve upon. There's a few folks that I saw them make effort to do that, but I think that there's ways to more meaningfully transition. So the first way you go about it is making sure that you have ideas in the places that you want them, that there's a purpose for placing one idea as the first body paragraph, and then there's, why is that second body paragraph coming after it? And making a meaningful connection between the two. So here we have an introduction, and I love this introduction. It's talking about, it's kind of personal and kind of getting us into their understanding of the town and their lived experience in the town, and then we're coming into this paragraph. The two murals represent this, and I don't know if this is like continuing on with that introduction, but I think having a reason why we're going to start with Millbrook Park, whether it was it most prominently featured the theme that this essay is looking at, if it's got a distinctive take on the theme, or maybe it's the most relevant to the theme or the least relevant to the theme, and you're building up to something, having a reason why you're starting here and then going to Dreamland. There should be a more meaningful connection than just I'm talking about this and then I'm talking about this. How are the two really kind of related in terms of that theme or the research that you found? And again, there are a number of different ways to kind of think about how you could sequence the essay. It's, whether, most significant, least significant, is it chronological, like this happened before this other thing happened? I guess that could work as well. But a more meaningful rationale for why you're placing ideas in the location that you have. And that's something that I think almost everybody could work on in their revision. I want to say a few other things before I close out the video. Those are the major major issues that I'm looking for in this assignment. And this is kind of a weird assignment. It's the first time I've done it in this way. So I'm gonna be pretty not lenient's not the word. I'm looking for this stuff, and it better be there if I'm looking for it. But I'm going to kind of extend a little bit more grace with this assignment. So, if you make a good faith attempt to organize ideas, then you're going to be fine here. If you make a good faith attempt to integrate your paraphrases and quotes, you're going to be fine here. Quality of sources. I didn't go through and check the quality of everybody's sources, but they should be credible sources or academic sources. I think just popular sources, you want to steer clear of that for this assignment. The next assignment, we're going to be hitting a lot of these things in much more detail, but I need to see that you're making a good attempt to get this right. I do want to draw your attention down here. I'll blow this up a little bit. Essay includes all three of the following: visual integrated into the report. Most folks did that. One highlighted paragraph with no be verbs. We talked about that on the day of the peer review. And then there's this last part: successful completion of a criterion you identify. So that is going to be up to you. And you should let me know when you submit your essay, like, this is the criterion that I'm going to do, that I want to take a look at, whether it's a stylistic thing or you're going to play with document design for this assignment, or, what have you. You get to pitch to me, like, here's this thing that I kind of want to try out and take a shot at it. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that. For the B contract, you need to get 2 out of the 3. So maybe you get the visual and the be verb thing and you don't do this thing because you don't want to go through with that. That's fine. That's your choice. But if you are somebody that's looking for that A, and again, this is the other criteria. It's not the most important stuff. These things are far more important to me. But if you are trying to kind of dot your I's and cross your T's and you want to, get all these points here, then the other criteria, making sure that you identify that other criterion and you communicate that to me. That's important. There wasn't anybody. I think there was 1 or 2 people that highlighted a paragraph, and I think with the last assignment it was sentence variety. So again, if you're looking to meet the B contract or to exceed it, you're going to need 2 out of 3 of these, or all 3 of them, and that will include highlighting a paragraph with no be verbs. All right. That's what I wanted to share with y'all. I hope y'all have a good weekend. My apologies again about canceling class on Thursday, but we'll come back to class on Tuesday and get back at it, and we'll talk about when this assignment's going to be due. But you should be working on your revision, and there'll be a little bit of time in class on Tuesday to work on that revision. All right, that's it for now.